Okay,
There
awesome.
we
You're
go.
here. I was like,
Perfect.
please don't let Instagram be act ratchet today of all days. Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. We're here. I'm excited to interview you, girl.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited
Of
too.
course. So I have just been seeing so much like hype around women's hockey right now. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to get a hockey player on here. I got to know all the tea, what's going on. So I'm happy that I got to talk to you.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you. There's definitely been a lot going on the women's hockey side, but it's exciting for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just dive right into it. So usually I have your bio so I can pretty much run down what it is you do, everything like that. But this platform is for women to tell their own stories. So I just throw that
Okay.
bio out the window and I'm gonna let you kind of tell us about you. And of course, everybody wants to know, how did you get into hockey? So kind of give us a rundown of who you are, what you've done, and then kind of let us know, how did you get into hockey?
Yeah. So right now, I'm playing in the new professional women's hockey league called the PWHL. This is the first year that we've had a solid combined one league, which is what we've been striving to have and what we've hoped to have as players for a really long time. And it's crazy to me because a year ago, I didn't think there was any possibility that I would be sitting in Ottawa, where I am
Wow.
now, getting paid to play the sport I love at such a high level.
I
So
love it.
it's pretty crazy and still surreal that my job is to drive 5 minutes down the road and go on the ice every day.
I love that.
So no complaints over there. It's been a pretty amazing time so far. But my journey has been, I'd say, a little bit different than some other girls I'm playing with. I'm someone that, for the last probably 8 years, it was never a smooth road for me. It was a road where
Mm.
it's been filled with adversity, and I've kind of learned to deal with a lot of challenges, and I'm definitely more resilient because of that. For me, one of my goals growing up was always to be in the Olympics and to play for Team Canada. And now it's nice because young girls can have a dream of playing in this pro league, but I didn't have that growing up. So I guess my first kind of adversity was in 2017, I believe. I got cut for the first time from Team Canada. And that was
Mm.
as a 16-year-old, that's always a little bit shocking, a little bit hurtful.
I'm sure.
And I ended up coming back the following year and making what they had was a summer series against the United States. But I made that as the last forward. So normally they take 12 to 13 forwards. So I made it as the 13th forward. So I wasn't even on a line.
Oh wow.
And I didn't play the first game of that series. And then I remember crying to my parents on the phone. And my dad was like, okay, you
Mm.
have two choices. Either we can take you home and you can say, nope, I don't want to do this. Or next game, you'll probably dress and get a few shifts and you can show them what type of player you are and earn your ice time. So I
Yes.
think at a young age, I'm lucky to have the guidance that I have for sure. My parents have been amazing and so supportive and also given me a kick in the butt when I needed it,
That's what
which
they're
I
good
think is
for.
important too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was young Lexie. I was now 17 and I probably played two of the best games I'd played up to that point in my hockey career. Those last two games the series, and then I ended up cracking the under 18 World's team roster that January and actually started
Wow.
playing on the first line. So I
Wow.
went from being the 13th forward 4 months before that to the first line, and I think I had the second most points in the tournament. I So that was some adversity I
Wow.
worked through. Ended up getting invited to the next step in Hockey Canada, which is like the under 22 development team. But at the time, they thought I fractured my foot. It ended up being a peroneal tendon tear that I was going into my freshman year of college. So I ended up playing the whole year with the tendon was torn in two spots. So that was a,
Jeez.
a, a pretty painful time, but we made it through. So I think since then I've been, from the Hockey Canada standpoint, trying to catch up because that was my year. There's only three of us that were that young that got invited to that under 22 level. I don't even
Wow.
think I was 18 at the time. I think I was 17. So then I was playing catch up because then COVID happened, and so then the
Uh,
camp didn't happen for a few years. So I guess kind of fast forward, um, last summer, going into my fifth year of school, I ended up cracking the under 22 Team Canada team roster. And the day before we were supposed to play our our 3 game series against the US, we were playing our senior team, and I got a bad hit to the boards and dislocated 2 of my ribs. But
Oh my goodness. Jeez, you've been on a journey.
I have,
Wow.
and the past year just has been wild. So that's how this past year kind of started. I still played the 3 games because I was like, you know what? I have worked so hard to get
Yes.
this chance and to work my way up in the roster, and that's probably the most pain I've ever played with. I was wrapped with tensor bandages. I
Oh my
was on
gosh.
a lot of Advil. Um,
Jeez.
but I made it
Wow.
through the games,
Wow.
and I played okay. But
Wait, so
then I
you
missed.
played with the ribs the entire game?
Yeah, for
Dude, your
3 games.
pain tolerance has to be insane.
I
That's
think
crazy.
I think I do have a pretty high pain tolerance. That plus a little bit of adrenaline, and I think also just I've done so much mental work where I was like, I've worked so hard for this.
Yes.
I know I can still play okay if I can just. It's 3 games. It's 3 games. So by the third game, I remember seeing my parents, and they were like, "You," I was white, like white. It looked like I
Oh
was
my
gonna
God.
vomit. They were like, "Oh my goodness!" But we made it
I
through,
was gonna say you
and
made
I
it.
did. I made it through. And then I started my fifth year school. So I guess for the people listening, everyone, I went to school at Quinnipiac. It is a Division 1 school in Connecticut. So I did five years there. I got a fifth year because of COVID,
Mhm.
and super grateful for that because I was able to find something academic wise that I truly love. So in the future, once I'm done
That's
playing
awesome.
hockey, hopefully it won't be for another 5 to 10 years,
Yeah,
but I have something else that I found a passion in as well. So super grateful for that coming out of COVID. I know there wasn't a lot of pauses over COVID, but that was one for me
that
for sure. Finding something I like and a different passion as well. But so I started my this is where my major adversity the past years probably been the most trying time in terms of
mm,
things that I've gone through and things I've had to overcome, and just seeing where I'm at now. I truly believe that things do happen for a reason, and I don't know if
yeah,
I would be at the point that I'm at now if I hadn't gone through everything I did and hadn't built up that resiliency and had to do that mental work. So
for sure.
I started out the year, my last year of college, missing the first 2 games, which wasn't a big deal for me. Still recovering from the ribs.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? There's a long season ahead. 2 games, that's okay. I'll be good. So I
Yes.
came back from that. I think I played 3 weeks and then got a bad hit and got a grade 3 shoulder separation. So I was lucky I didn't need surgery,
Jeez.
but I still missed 10 weeks, and that's a good chunk of the season.
Yeah.
But again, you gotta kind of gotta count your blessings. So we had a pretty cool experience to play an outdoor game at Fenway.
Oh
So
wow.
I I came back, and that was my second, I believe, second or third game back.
Wow.
So I was so grateful that I got to play in that game, and that's just an experience I will never forget. It was so cool. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, so I came back. I think I played 3 weeks, and then I got a concussion.
Oh,
Another bad hit. So
Lexie. Jeez.
yeah,
Okay.
so missed another month, and then came back, finished finished the season. But at that point, I played less than half of our games, and obviously people are like, "Did you expect that?" I'm like, "No, I didn't expect
Yes.
that."
Yeah.
Going into my fifth year, but again, you kind of gotta roll with the punches.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward a little bit, I had signed in one of the 2 leagues before this PWHL was formed. There was 2 separate leagues. There was the PHF and the PWHPA. So I had signed for a team in New Jersey in the PHF. So I was really looking forward to that. I was like, okay, you know what? Things are going to start to turn around. I get to still play hockey. At that point, I was like, I'm done with the injuries and the adversity for
Yes,
this year.
please.
But but it was only April at that point.
Mm,
So I still had a good chunk of the year left.
yes.
So then I guess fast forward a little bit more, in June we got a call from the league basically just saying, yeah, so this league no longer exists and your contracts are all voided. and you'll know more in probably a month. So
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
so I'm sitting there, and looking back now, this is the best thing that could have happened to women's hockey. But at that time, I was like, what am I going to
Devastated.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
I was like, okay, here's another thing we're gonna go through.
Right. Another obstacle. Yeah.
Yes. So, but I've always been one that's been super positive, and again, just going back to my support system, and my parents were like, you know what, you don't know what's gonna happen. Keep training, keep working hard, and things are gonna work out.
Yes.
So there ended up being a pool of 300 players that I was put in, and they said from these 300 players, you're either going to be drafted or you're going to be in a player pool where if you're not drafted, then you can go to a team's training camp and try to make one of the last roster spots. But the hard part
Wow.
about our league this year is there's only 6 teams. And there's, in my opinion, there's talent for more than 6 teams, but they wanted to start with just an original six. And
Okay.
so I was a little stressed going into the
I'm
draft because
sure.
I had missed over half of my last year, and they didn't have a ton of time to go back and watch film from years prior. So I was like just crossing my fingers that a team would pick me up. But at the same time, I was like, if I don't get picked up, I have no problem going into a training camp and trying to earn a roster spot.
Right.
But thankfully and luckily, I was drafted to Ottawa. So,
Look at that, man.
so super, super special moment. I had my parents and my brother were at the draft with me. And
Wow.
that's kind of how I got into hockey, which I'll touch on in a few minutes. But yeah, so I made it through that and was training and super excited for camp. And then I think the last kind of obstacle, which was the scariest in my opinion of this past year, was 3 weeks before training camp, my doctor found a tumor in my bladder.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
so
Okay.
that was really scary being someone that is so healthy. If you ask any of my friends and people that know me well, I take such good care of my body, and I've done so much research. I'm really into natural medicine and natural health and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
So for me to get that news was really scary. When they first did the biopsy, he was like, "There's no, sorry, not the biopsy, the scope." He was like, "You know what? It's probably something else. You're so young. You're so healthy. There's like a 0.001% chance that it's a tumor." And then he went in with the scope, and he was like, okay, so I basically had two options to either get it scraped so they could test it or get it removed. And he said the recovery time's the same, but at this point, they booked me for surgery, and my recovery time was 14 days, and training camp started in 15 days.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
so, so he
Wow.
was like, he did a very like less invasive way so that I wouldn't have stitches, and said like you'll be good to go hopefully in a day before your training camp. And at that point I didn't know the results of the tumor, so I kind of had to put that out of my brain. I was on bed rest for 2 weeks,
Wow.
and training camp, you kind of start with a bang. Like you start with fitness testing. So we
Yes.
had fitness testing for 2 to 3 days, and then you're on the ice and you're going 100 miles an hour. I signed
Yeah.
my contract, so I was super lucky for that. But now you're trying to earn some playing time. And so I was a little stressed. I was like, I haven't done anything in 2 weeks, but it ended up being okay. And I made it through. So I'm lucky. It was just, well, it was kind of the best worst case scenario when I got the news. It's a very low grade cancer that isn't likely to spread, and because I got it removed, they said the chance of it coming back are super low. So now I just have
Right.
to be like going for screening every 6 months for the next 10 years, so they can stay on top of it. But it
Wow.
really makes you count your blessings. And I'm so young, and I'm someone that my friends would describe as like a happy person. And I truly think that all the things that have happened to me this past year have just shaped me to who I am and have made me really appreciate the little things in life.
Yeah.
And they kind of just show you that every day there's always someone that's going through something worse than you,
Yes.
and there's always a reason to smile and always a positive and things to be grateful for each day.
Amen.
And so as hard as this past year was, and as hard and as scary as the tumor and this cancer scare were, I think it just really made me appreciate all the little things in life and just to really soak this opportunity I have in and try to make the biggest impact possible that I
Yeah.
can. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now, and my journey this past year, which was in no way easy, but I'm also doing something now that I never thought was possible a year ago. So
Wow.
I think I think things do happen for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here I am
Yeah.
living a dream I didn't even know would be possible about a year ago. Um, so I guess how I got into hockey, I have an older brother who's 3 years
Okay.
older. So when I was 3 years old, I don't remember this well. This is the story, the side of the story my parents would tell me, but I was in soccer and in gymnastics, and my parents always said I was really, really active. But I would always go watch my older brother's hockey games. And every time he was
Wow.
on the ice, I'm like, Mom, Dad, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play. And I kept bugging them, kept bugging them. So they're like, you know what? Fine. They got me some skates, and it's kind of a funny story. How I learned to skate was I was obsessed with, in Canada, we have Smarties, which are like different than the American Smarties. We call your
The
guys' Smarties rockets.
candy?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
in Canada, they're kind of like M&Ms.
Okay.
And those are my favorite treat when I was younger. So my dad got me to skate by he would go and stand at each line, so like blue line, red line, blue line, and I would skate there and he would drop a Smartie through my cage like a little bird. He
Aw.
said. So
That's a
so that's
perfect way to teach somebody how to skate.
yeah, so that was a little incentive on how to skate. And then when I was 4, I started playing hockey, and
Wow.
played with the boys till I was 7 or 8, and then switched to girls hockey because I always said like I want to go to hotels with the girls and play mini sticks with the girls. And at that
Yeah.
time, girls hockey wasn't as big in my hometown, so I drove like 35, 40 minutes away into London, which is the town next to me, and
Mhm.
that's where I played all growing up. But my brother
Wow.
is the reason I got into hockey,
I love
and he had to stop
that.
playing because he got quite a few concussions. But now he's one of my biggest fans. Has always given me tips and supporting me, and was at my home opener in Ottawa, which was really special. I had him and my parents, and a bunch of family that made like an 8-hour trip. Some family made 6-hour trips. So super blessed to have
Wow.
them. But that's kind of how my whole journey started, and now here I am. It's been 20 years
Wow.
since I started playing, which is crazy, crazy.
Ye- Wow. Okay. I mean, you probably covered like six of my questions, so this is going to be probably one of the easiest interviews ever. But that's so wow. There's a lot to digest with your story. So you pretty much earned every single ounce of where you are today, which
Yeah,
is to me, that's what a story is all about. That's what makes someone a fan of someone. That is like player development. That's why I created this platform, because there's a lot of athletes that might have these incredible stories, but people don't understand the journey to get there, right? You might see
yeah,
them when they're shining, when they make that, they make that goal and they go viral, whatever it may be, but you don't know what it took.
yeah,
So hearing the fact that you had to go through all of those trials and tribulations, and then you made it pro, you made it to on a level that most female hockey players don't get, right? And it's only 6 teams.
yeah.
So there's a lot of them that don't have this opportunity right now. So I am so happy for you, because that
Thank you so
I
much.
love those resilient stories of athletes, and just like, man, I went through the worst, but it prepared me for this. So I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what you do.
Oh,
When you
thank
get out there and you kill it, you now probably have probably like a million more people that are going to be out there supporting you, because your story is
thank
amazing. Um,
you.
so wow. So who are like some of your idols? Like, who do you look up to when it comes to hockey
Yeah.
outside
So
of your brother?
growing up, my parents always encouraged me to watch the Olympics and try to have some female hockey role models. So Haley Wickenheiser was huge growing up, but I also met Rebecca Johnson. She was also on the Team Canada team, and I met her when I was 10. She brought her Olympic gold to my hometown rink, and I'm from a really small town where people don't normally come visit there. So I
Yeah.
remember meeting her and just like being in awe and being like, you know, that's what I want one day. So those are two people I really looked up to. And then now just having a chance to play with Brienne Jenner, who's also one of the best players in the world
Yes.
right now, and she's on my team, just seeing the impact she's had, not even just on the ice, but off the ice, how she interacts with young girls and how she's done that for many years now, and just the role model she is. I think she's inspiring me to take on a whole other aspect outside of hockey, which when you're young, you don't really think of that side of things. But when
Yeah.
you see someone like that and all she's done for the game on the ice, but more importantly, off the ice, and how she treats each little girl with respect. I'm sure she gets asked for, 200, 300 autographs every day she's walking down the street or in after
Jeez.
games. Like there's a huge line, and never once have I seen her turn it down or not have time to connect with a fan or reach out to someone or answer someone. And I think that's just so incredible
I
to
love that.
see. And she's been playing the game for so long and she still does that. So she's someone
I love that.
I definitely look up to in the last few years, has been someone I've inspired to be in more so of a sense off. Obviously she's incredible on the ice, but more
Yeah.
so like just how she is off the ice, and how she treats everybody.
I love that. I love that. And now you are going to be, and already are, a ton of little girls' idols. So that's crazy how you end up, you admire your idols and then you end up playing with them. And that's a testament right there. I love that. So as a prominent figure in women's hockey, how do you approach breaking stereotypes and what barriers have you had to face being a woman in this sport?
Yeah, I think lately, the past year or so, I've seen more. I've been trying to be more active on my social media, and a big part of my brand and what I do is to show that you can do both in terms of like
Yes.
you can have that girly side. You can get dressed up. I always have
I'm
my
the
nail.
same
I play
way.
hockey, but I always have my nails done. I do my makeup. I do my makeup for games.
Yes.
I But then you can also be that fierce competitor.
Yes.
And I think that's something that originally, there was negative comments towards, but that's
Hmm.
what I want to show young girls, that if you don't have to be like that if you don't want to, but you can be. You can have that
Yes.
feminine and girly side, and you can also be a tough competitor on the ice and or on the field or whatever your sport may be. So I think that's something that when I started to post certain videos, it was a little more vulnerable for me to post things, and especially when you're getting some negative responses, but once you keep on, there's also a lot of supporters out there. So I'd say that's
Yes.
one thing. And then the second thing too is just being a woman in hockey and then comparing or trying to compare our game to the men's game, or people that have not seen a women's hockey game,
Yes.
and they tried to tell us that, oh, my 8-year-old son is better than you, or this boy is better than you, or it won't last because it's a female sport and it's not competitive, you guys probably can't even skate, like comments like that. And I think for me, because I've gone through so many things, those comments they don't really affect me. Some of them I kind of laugh at, but I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? Our sport is great and we have great talent, and I think that's
Yes.
what's been so incredible of this over this last month is like our game sold out for our home opener. We had like 8,500 fans. Minnesota had
Wow.
13,000 fans. Like, so people want to see, and now I'm getting some comments like, "Whoa, like you guys are tough on the ice. This is actually like this is actually good hockey. It's really entertaining." And it's just
Right.
funny because my response to a lot of people are the way I've kind of have my comebacks is I'll never be rude to somebody. I'll never put somebody down, especially when I have a lot of young girls following me on my social media. But I do think it's
Mhm.
important to stand up for the game and
Yes.
address some of these comments. So my approach is I have a little bit of a sarcastic humor approach to some of the video, to some of my responses to people. And I think this guy commented on almost every video that I posted for hockey and was like, "Go back to the kitchen. You
Oh,
can't skate. You can't
oh
do this.
my
Women's
gosh.
hockey sucks." And so I replied and I said, "Hey, you clearly haven't seen a women's hockey game. So I get 4 free tickets to every game. I will give you and 3 people free tickets to come let us
I
prove you
love that.
wrong. Like, let
Yeah, I
us
love
prove you
that.
wrong, because I know that if you came, you would be pleasantly surprised with the product we put out on the ice. And from them, I haven't got a response from this guy since
Oh,
then.
I bet.
But
So
so
it's
that's
easy to
kind
do that
of,
over the internet.
yeah, so that's kind of how I respond to them. But I think it's important to, stand up for the sport and show that young girls that like too that it is good hockey, and don't listen to the people out there that make the comments. Keep going and trying to achieve your goals, because just because we're women doesn't mean that we can't skate, and that
Right,
and that our and
right.
that our and that our game isn't entertaining. So yeah, I think those are two big things that being a female athlete, especially at this level, and being someone who is trying to grow and showcase the sport and everything we're doing, is a little bit vulnerable, and those comments are going to come. But it's
Yeah.
just it's just crazy, some of the ones that
It's,
you get.
oh my God. Look, I can only imagine. I know for me playing, being a woman playing football, I've gotten very similar comments about, oh, like, don't you want to have children? Like, how come you're not in the in the
Yeah, in
kitchen?
the
You know,
kitchen. Get
that's
back
like
in the
the thing.
kitchen.
That's the thing that they all say, right? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, have you actually seen women play football? Like, we're actually pretty tough. Like, and I think they always assume for whatever reason, no matter what sport, that you're trying to play with the
Yeah.
guys. And it's like, do you know that we have our own leagues? Like, we don't have
Yes.
to cross over to play with men. And I'm like, what do you like? You can't compare me to like Tyreek Hill. Like he, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to actually come and see the talent that's
Yes.
actually in our league on the field, and you would actually be surprised. So oh my gosh, I completely understand, and I was bad because I would sometimes respond back in not the nicest ways. But I've gotten like, man, I guess in like the past, I guess the last time I kind of had a bad comment was like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. But I just laugh now because I'm like, you
Yeah.
have to be probably miserable at some point, throughout your life, for you to even comment on this because I don't even know you.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, being a hopefully a I don't know, inspiring a little girl that might want to play football. Because when you are in these male dominated sport like hockey, like football, it's a lot that comes with that. And I try to tell people that this is like not
Yeah.
it's not for the weak hearted. That's what I would say. But going or speaking about kind of like your fans and wanting to make sure that they understand that this is real, they do have a place. Can you kind of recall like a specific instance where you felt you like significantly impacted a young aspiring female hockey player, and like how did that make you feel when she had that reaction or had that conversation? Because I'm sure it was like, wow, like I made it, like I have these little girls who are rooting for me. So do you have any like
Yeah.
special moments?
Yeah, actually one that was super, super recent. So, like I said, I'm from a small town, and I was posting a lot from home in the summer. But once I got to Ottawa, there's a huge women's hockey community here, and like a big Ottawa organization. And a lot of the girls I knew came to our home opener, but I think 2 weeks ago now, we had an open practice, and there were a few girls teams there, and I was skating in the corner, and a girl, I thought I heard my name. So, and I'm on the ice in practice. So I'm like, kind of, I obviously trying to focus,
Right.
but also I'm like, is somebody saying my name? And I heard it a few times. So I turned, and there was, I think it was a U15 girls team standing there, and one girl waved at me. So I waved back, and they all started like screaming, like, oh my gosh, Lexie, like she waved at us.
Oh,
She recognized us. She noticed us. And
I love that.
I was like, oh my gosh. And my assistant coach, then every time I went to get the puck, they would like yell my name. And my assistant coach was like, holy, so at first she made a joke. She's like, Lex, do you hear? They're yelling my name. And I was like, yeah, coach. So then when I got off the ice, a few girls asked me for a photo, and one girl came up to me, and good on her, because I don't know if I would have like had the confidence, or I probably would have been too scared to come up to anyone and say this, but she came up to me and she just said like, I followed you on social media for 5 years, and when you got drafted to
Wow.
Ottawa, I was so excited. And she was like, when you talked about going through injuries and hard times, she said, I went through, and this girl's like probably 14 years old, and
Wow.
she was like, I went through an injury last year and I almost wanted to stop playing, and I just want you to know, like, I watched one of your videos and it made me want to keep training, and it made me want to keep working hard and get to the next level. And she was like, you are like my inspiration and my biggest role model. And I was like holding back.
Aw.
I didn't want to break down in tears right there, but
Right.
I was holding back tears because a lot of times when you are posting more vulnerable things and you're getting some hate comments, yeah, you get, like, especially me, I've been getting a lot of supportive comments as well, but you don't necessarily see the impact you're having.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, I saw the impact that I've been having. And after that open practice, I got over 40 messages from young girls and
Wow.
parents saying, like, my daughter looks up to you so much. Like, you're such a great role model. Like, I want to be just like you. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was
Wow.
always in
I
shock.
love,
I'm like, what
yeah.
is going on?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I,
beautiful.
yeah, and so, it makes me want to keep doing what I'm doing and be more involved in the community. And it's just crazy because I never thought I'd be in this
Yeah.
position. And now that I am, it's like I said, like, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And now it's like, okay, now that I do have this kind of network and people that are looking up to me, it's like, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to continue to
Yeah.
inspire? How, and just being aware, obviously, of the things you're posting and responses you're having. But it's been a little bit overwhelming and a little bit shocking, but also
I
like
bet.
it, yeah, but also it's just crazy. It's really just
Yeah.
crazy.
I can only imagine. But again, your story is amazing. And you don't know how many athletes, young and old, that really need to hear a story like yours to know that it's possible. Because the amount of injuries that you went through on the level that you went through them, most athletes would be like, you know what? Yeah, like
Not worth
I'm good. Like I'm gonna
it.
go and just do something else. Yeah, it's not worth all this time and effort, but the fact that you just kept fighting, that is so inspirational because again, a lot of people they're not able to do that. And then you made it to the highest level at that. So you went through all these things and then you made it. So it's like, okay, I can go through all these injuries, I can go through all these challenges, and I still can come can't even talk, guys. Come out on top, and be successful at what it is I want to do. So I understand, but I can only imagine like you leave a practice and you get like all these DMs. I know it's like, oh my god, like what's happening? My life is changing. So I can only imagine. Um, okay, so kind of talking about the fans, and then we touched a little bit on just the comparison that we often get as female athletes. From your perspective, what are some crucial changes that need to happen in women's sports, especially hockey, and definitely when it comes to like gaining more support, gaining more just like viewership and things like that. I know it's
Yeah.
growing rapidly, but what do you feel could still happen or needs to happen to kind of amplify that?
I think the first thing is the visibility.
Okay.
And now with the new league, it's nice because all of our games can be streamed on YouTube too, live. So I think that's something different that they're doing that the NHL doesn't have. And I think we have to be different and allow people to have access to us to get the visibility that we want. And I think the biggest thing for us that people are starting to notice and that they'll continue to see moving forward is the physicality in our game. When we were forming this new league, they asked us as players, before this had happened, if we were to have one league, what are things that you would want to have? And we're like, you know
Mm,
what? We trained so hard, and a lot of us are really strong. So let us play physical. Obviously, nothing dangerous. We don't want any huge open ice hits. That's when you've played hockey for so long and you're not used to that in your game. That would be really hard just to throw in. But
yeah,
we're like, along the boards, let us throw some bodies around. Let us
yeah,
play physical. And they've really listened to us. And the games are physical. And I've got some comments too. Like, even my strength coach from back home, he watched the first game, then he was actually just at my game in Toronto, and he was like, holy crap, like when you told me that I should expect some physicality, I wasn't thinking like this, like you guys were throwing the bodies around. And I was like, yeah. And that's what we wanted, because that's something that when people think of women's sports in general and women's contact sports, like, oh, that's the best part in the men's game is that they hit
Yes.
and they're physical, and why can't girls hit? And I'm like, well, we kind of can. And so now the
Yeah,
league's doing a good job, and they're starting to put more together of like some highlights from the games, not just being goals, but like putting like body contact, like hits into the highlights from the games. And I think
I love that.
if that's something that they continue to do, it will get more traction because that's what people think our game doesn't have.
Right.
And so the more we can show that and the more the league can highlight that, I think the more people are going to be like, "Oh, okay, it is kind of
Yeah.
physical. Let me go check out a game, or let me watch this game on TV, or let me live stream it through YouTube." And then normally, like, what's been happening is once someone comes to a game, they're like, oh, like, this
They
is
go tell their
actually
friends.
pretty good. Like, that
Yeah.
was enjoyable, that was entertaining, I want to come to another game. So the
Right.
hardest part is getting people to be open-minded and tune in. And I think
Yeah.
the more you can showcase the physicality of our game, the more people be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch a few minutes and see what it's like. And then
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that needs to continue to happen because they're letting us to play physical. So highlight that and make it visible.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, if you guys and I again I've seen some videos. So you ladies are actually hitting very, very much. Again, you can't compare what we do to what the men do, but you guys are physical as hell. Like I'm just being honest. So I
Yeah,
don't know what people
and
are
my
talking
thing
about.
is, and my thing is like you get the comments like, if you're good at hockey, why aren't you in the NHL? And I'm like, sir, if I was in the
What?
NHL, I'm like, I I do not want to go get hit by a 250-pound
Like,
man. Like
why
we
do you
are.
feel like we want to do
I'm
that?
like,
Like, to prove a point,
no,
right?
and that's the thing that is hard for me to get my head around and like explain to people. It's like, I am not trying to play in the NHL. that is not that is not my goal. It has never
Yeah.
been my goal. And we like our game is physical. I'm able to go up against someone that's of similar physicality. If I was to go
Yeah.
step on the ice and a man who's 30 years old skate at me full speed who weighs twice as much as me and goes to hit me, I
Yeah.
don't think that's going to be enjoyable for anybody. It's just
No,
dangerous.
like yeah, but that's what again, that's the argument that I see the most. Is like, okay, if you're doing this amazing thing in your sport, why aren't you in the NFL? Why aren't you in the NHL? Why aren't you in the NBA? And I'm like, God, okay, even though we know that we're strong, we're speedy, we have these different things. Think about what logical sense would that make?
Yeah.
Why would any of us want to go and play with, like you said, men that are twice our size, coming at us full speed? It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. So why in your mind do you think that you should be comparing that on whether
Hmm.
or not that makes it a good sport or not, or you're a good player or not? So it's just, look, I love the guys, I love men, but it's just sometimes I'm like, do y'all think? Like, are y'all thinking with your brains? Because like, come on now,
Yeah.
would you want your daughter to go and play like with high school? You know what I'm saying, or college boys
Yeah.
or whatever? Like, no. So, anywho, I could talk about this all day, so we're not gonna get into this. Oh, okay, but so one of the last questions, because I don't want to keep you on here all day. But what would be a message that you would love to send to the next generation of female hockey players?
I think the biggest thing for me is that they now have a league they can dream of playing in, and this can be their job. And because of what I've gone through, like, I'm a testament that no matter what obstacle gets in your way, your mind is so powerful and you can truly achieve anything you set your mind to, and you can get through anything. So if that's your dream and that's your goal, keep going until you achieve that. And if you believe you can, you will. And now you have the opportunity to have that dream. So dream
Yes,
big.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so I got one more regular question, and then we're gonna have some fun. Okay, like we got
Okay.
five more questions that are gonna be more fun. Oh, so I guess what do you have coming up next? What can we look forward to? What can we follow? I know you just said that your games are gonna be streamed like on YouTube as well, so we can definitely catch them on YouTube.
Yeah.
But what do we have looking forward to?
Yeah, so coming up, we play This week we play on Wednesday, and then next week we have a crazy schedule. We play 3 games in 5 days, which is insane.
Oh my gosh.
And then we,
Praying for your
yeah, we
body.
play. I know my recovery's already started. I'm like, I played this Wednesday, and then I have about like 5 days to recover, and then it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Man.
So there's some good hockey coming up. I think pretty much every 2 days for the next few weeks, there'll be a women's hockey game on TV and live streamed on YouTube. So that's super exciting. And then we have an all-star break, and they already have some girls that were chosen before to play like a little 3-on-3 game at the all-star competition. So that's
Oh,
also
nice.
something they can tune in and watch. That's coming at the end of the month. I think it's the 28th till February 4th. So that's something exciting. That will be all over TV because it's at the All-Star competition. So
Yes.
that's
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah, so some awesome hockey coming up and lots of it available to watch. And yeah, on YouTube. Then in Canada, it's like TSN, Sportsnet, CBS. In Boston, it's like NESN, and yeah, always live on YouTube. So there's definitely yeah, and then there's definitely access to watch the games, but lots coming up to look forward to.
Yes, I'm excited. I love it. I love it. All right, cool. So let's have some fun really quick. So first of all, are you single?
I am single.
Awesome. Okay. So this is a little segment that I do with all of my ladies that are single. It's called intentional dating, right? So we kind
Okay,
of dive into like your love life a little bit and just have a little fun.
perfect.
So the first question is, first of all, why are you single? And then secondly, what is like your ideal like man? If you could build a man, build a bear, what would that
Okay.
be?
Okay, so why I'm single. I had a long relationship pretty much all through college. Still friends, great relationship. But from that, I kind of learned what I like and what I don't like, what I don't want and what I want. And I think for me, it was learning to be happy and okay on my own. I'm very independent, and I think sometimes that can be a little intimidating for guys because I'm good on my own. Like, I'm happy on my own. Would I love to have someone that adds to that happiness? 100%. But I'm also a really strong, independent woman, so that's a little intimidating for people I find. And I've never been one to just go on meaningless dates. I can tell pretty quick if people don't have the values I'm looking for, and I'm like, why am I going to waste my time to, go entertain this further when I know
Not
that
gonna work.
that's not, yeah. So
Okay.
I really only had that one relationship. And so I'd say I'm single because right now no one's really caught my eye or grabbed my attention with the values and things that I want.
Got you.
So I guess what I'm looking for, first and foremost, I love my family to death and I am very family oriented. So someone that has similar views where they put their family first. I'm Catholic and I believe in God and I like going to church, and I don't need someone that's necessarily like top of the top religious, but that'd be something that would be nice to have, or at least supports that I have those beliefs.
Right.
So that's another strong thing. I do. This has also bit me in the butt a little bit, but I do love the athletes, and I don't think
Oh,
I don't
girl.
think I'm like I'm like there's got to be a good loyal athlete
I
out there.
mean, the only ones that I can name off the top of my head, Russell Wilson, um, and maybe Steph Curry, maybe LeBron. Those are the only ones that I've ever heard that are like supposedly very loyal. So
Yeah.
okay, so you want an
So
athlete.
I yes,
Okay.
I like the athletes.
Okay.
I like the athletes.
Oh, girl.
But
Okay.
I think honestly, I think the reason that I've been attracted to athletes and I liked athletes is because one, I've tried to be with someone who wasn't an athlete and they didn't understand that hockey is and training is such a high priority
Yeah.
on my list, and that okay, so there's some nights where like I'm exhausted and all I want to do is go sit in my recovery pants for 30 minutes and go to sleep, and
Right.
they didn't necessarily understand that. But I also think like the deeper things in terms of like the drive, the resilience that I find a lot of athletes have, even like the confidence that some of them have. These are some traits that I look for. I want someone that is driven. I want someone that, has that resilience, because life is not easy. And when you have a family and you have kids, it's just going to get harder. So like I need someone
100%.
that's resilient, that I know like through the hard times would stick by me and can work through hard things, because life isn't easy. I've learned that. So
Yes,
I guess those
yes,
those are some of the traits that I found that some athletes have, and that's not to say people that aren't athletes don't have that. I know people that are driven in their job as well that have that. But so I'd say those are some of the traits. But family's definitely up there, and I
yes.
think now I have a little more time. But when I was still in school, my priorities were, my school, my school, my family, my hockey, and my social life, and then
Yeah.
my relationships. So there's some people that aren't okay being fifth or sixth priority on my list, but you can't have everything as number one priority.
Nah.
So now I don't have the school and the hockey and the job kind of meshes one, so that it
Right.
can move
So
up the
now you're
list a little bit.
third,
I
right?
have a little more time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. Does he have to play hockey, or can he
No,
play like any sport? Okay.
no, I'm open
No
to,
hockey
yeah.
player.
Doesn't have to be
Okay.
hockey. No.
Okay. All right, fellas, because I see them commenting. So it doesn't matter what sport.
Any
It doesn't have to be
athletes out
hockey.
here who like their
Oh,
family and
okay.
are loyal.
Yes. Okay, so I guess the next question would be, what would be like an ideal first date? Like, are you someone that you have to go to like top tier like restaurants or whatever, or can it be like, hey, we're gonna go on a walk in the park and eat ice cream? That's you?
Yeah, I think I'm not. I like to get dressed up, but I am not. I think an ideal first date would be doing like something active, like going on a walk, going on a hike, going to play like mini putt, and then like maybe grabbing a bite or something after that. But I think
Okay.
for me, I'm more comfortable in an environment where we're like doing something too. If I was just to sit down at a top, like a top restaurant, just sit there eating dinner, I feel like that's not
Boring.
necessarily me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to go
Yeah.
do something, and I find like, especially if it's a guy who's a little more shy or a little more timid, oftentimes if you're doing an activity, then it kind of gets them out of their shell. You can
Yeah.
chirp them a little
True.
bit, make fun of them, and it lightens the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think my ideal first date would be to, yeah, go on a walk or something, go play mini putt, golf, something, and then maybe some dinner after. But if the activity goes well, but
All right.
yeah,
If you beat him, I don't know. He might
yeah.
he might end early.
If
Okay. All
they
right.
can handle the competitive side, because I do have a very competitive side.
Man, I look. I understand that. They have to be competitive. Otherwise,
Yes.
it's like, come on, I gotta have fun. So I get that. Okay, so I guess my next question and almost last question. Um, I guess because I had this a lot before I got married, right? So do you think, from your experience and your opinion, right, is it harder to date as a female athlete, or is it better?
I think mixed. Honestly, maybe
Yeah,
harder, especially
I thought
especially
it was
the
hard.
sport I'm in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think harder
Yeah.
because, one, like I said, I'm very like friendly and bubbly and smiley and outgoing, but like on ice, I'm hardcore. Like I'll
Yeah.
smile and laugh and have a good time, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
serious. And some guys are intimidated by that. And also, like, I work out hard in the gym, and I am by no means like twig. Like I have some muscle on me, and I'm strong. I'm a
Right.
strong girl, and so I feel like that's harder too. Like if some guys aren't looking for a girl who's strong, or they get intimidated by that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I'm also the like from sports. I kind of built this like I don't really put up with much like BS. Part of my language. Like I'm a straight shooter. I can be
Yeah.
confrontational when I have to be. And so again, I think it's like some guys are like, whoa, that's
A
a little
lot.
intimidating, or
Yeah.
so yeah, I I find it's harder to date, or if I'm out at like a bar or something, I'll always get like, oh, like or you work out, or like in the
Oh
summer I
my
had a
gosh.
funny situation. I had a funny situation. Some guy tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, how much do you bench? And I'm like, really?
Wow.
This, I'm like,
Oh my God,
I don't know if
I
you're,
remember those moments, man. Yes, I get it. Or they look at your legs and they're like, "Oh my God, how much do you squat?"
how much do
And
you
it's like,
squat?
"How much do you squat?" Like, why are you
Yeah,
asking me this? This is like not the time or place. So look, I agree. I think it's like a mixture because I think it's like it's almost a fantasy, right? Because I feel like, oh, like you're into sports, like I can watch a game with you. But then it's
yeah,
like, but you're also into sports. So like you might be faster than me, stronger than me, whatever. So it can be like an intimidation thing. So I
yeah,
think it's like just finding like that person that respects both, right? That the fact that you're strong, you're an athlete, but also like they understand like okay, but they can also have this feminine side,
yes,
which right? I think that's dope. I think if
yes.
you can do both, isn't that like a dream? Like I'm
Like,
just
come
saying,
on.
like exactly. Come on, like you're not gonna find a lot
Yeah,
of this. So I
and
totally agree.
I think that's for me, and like in terms of something I'm looking for is like I feel like I have to be this like confident, strong person in so many aspects of my life where like it's kind of like I wear the pants pretty much in every aspect of my life, but I do not want that in my relationship. And I feel
Yes,
like so
yes.
like I want a
Come
guy
on,
that will
fellas.
like take care of me. Like, yes, I can bench and I can squat, but like that doesn't mean I don't want to be cuddled. Like, come on.
Right, we're still soft. Like we're still in
Yes.
our soft girl era. So
Yeah.
no, I totally
Bring
understand that.
I know I'm bringing in the soft girl era.
Yes, yes. So fellas, get with the program, okay? Okay, last question. When you hear intentional dating, what does that mean to you?
I think it's like dating with a purpose. Like when you go on that date, you know what you're looking for. You have like you're not for me like there's some
Yes.
non-negotiables and it's like intentional dating. It's like first of all being aware of them, what they're saying, taking that in and being intentional on what you're telling them because
Mm,
someone's also maybe like judging you a little bit and if you're not displaying the parts of you that you want someone else to see then you're not being intentional in that either so I think it's kind of a two-way street on that but yeah
yes,
that's kind of what I'd say and for me it's just like again that the no pointless dating like going in with knowing what I want and if I see something that's not one of my non-negotiables then I'm like no instead of going on
yes.
another day and
And wasting
prolonging it having those
time.
yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. Okay, I love that. All right, last thing. If your future husband was watching right now, what would you say to him?
Oh,
I
wow. I've never been
have
asked
to
a
put you on
question
the
like
spot.
this.
I have to put you on the spot.
I'd say you are in for a life full of adventures and smiles and spontaneous activities and fun. And also, like, someone who will support you along the way. Like, I'm someone that will, like, ride. Once I find that person, like, I will ride or die for you. So, guys, if you're looking,
Love that.
if you're looking for something like
Love that.
that,
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Lexi, for being a good sport. I know these questions were probably like left field, but I was like, I gotta
no,
add
it's
a
awesome.
segment that like gets you out of your comfort zone. So I love this. But again, thank you for hopping on. I know you're busy. I know you got a busy schedule. You have like a trillion games coming up, so I know this is like your
Yeah.
recovery time as well. But good luck this season.
Thank
I'm looking forward to watching some
you.
of your games, and I can't wait to be like, I know her, I interviewed her. So,
Thanks
so
so much.
of course, of course. So definitely get some rest, recover, and yes, I can't wait to have another conversation after your season.
Thank you. And thanks so much for having me. This has been so awesome. And great to meet you. Obviously, you've been like you're an inspiration to so many people. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you having me on here and I'll continue to follow everything you do and all the amazing things you're doing as well. So I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
this.
Of course, of course. Have a
You
good one.
too. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.